Hello YouTubers and welcome to another Big Finish review. In this Big Finish review I'm looking at January's release from the monthly range, which is Mistfall, a new eSpace trilogy. So without further ado, let's look at the cover of this story, then do the usual procedure. So let's go and do that before Mistfall
Right, so the
arrives.
cover, we have Nyssa, the Fifth Doctor there, and we have the TARDIS spinning out of control probably when it was entering eSpace. Then we have Tegan, and then we have Turlo. Then we have the Marshmen there, numerous Marshmen. There's another Marshman holding a stick, how exotic. Then we have the Alzarius landscape there. You can't really see very well because of the glare. And of course we have mist surrounding those characters there. Then we have Doctor Who, Peter Davison, Mistfall by Andrew Smith. Then the side, we have the Peter Davison logo there, Mistfall 195, so 5 off 200, which is exciting because I can't wait for that trilogy to begin. Then we have information on the story, so do feel free to pause. Then we have the cast members there, and the total running time for this story is 120 minutes. So that's the cover. Now, so if we open it up, we have director's notes there, then we have a picture of the cast members, which is very nice. Then we have writer's notes. Then we have advertisement for Doctor Who magazine, other picture of the cast members there. Advertisement for the second story in the eSpace trilogy, which seems like it's going to be the weakest out of the three, but who knows. Then we have how to get more Big Finish credits, and of course the reversible cover, so if you want the 1980s logo there, which is very nice. So now let's look at the discs. So the discs are exactly the same as the cover there, but obviously a bit more zoomed in, and of course if we move that up way for disc 2, we have advertisement for other Fifth Doctor audios there. So now let's go on to my thoughts on
Mistfall and the Excellence have got a lot of criticism on the forums, in the sense that well, the only criticism I can really find online on the forums about these two stories is that Big Finish are too busy focusing on the past and not actually creating new stories, because the January releases in the Doctor Who range are basically prequels and sequels, which I find there's nothing wrong with it, because I feel like it gives some stories a background plot before we actually begin, the existing classic story, and I feel that, having a sequel expands on that adventure, which I find is great. And Mistfall, I think, is a great expansion on Full Circle, with it touching on bits from the novelisation of Full Circle, with it leading off from where the Marshmen return back to the marsh. And you don't have to read the Full Circle novel to understand this, because I feel like Andrew Smith put that idea in there. And he does expand on those ideas great, with us finding out what happened to the Starliner, and why the Starliner returned and how the Starliner crashed, and of course the evolution of the Marshmen, which is definitely an intriguing thing. Now, the pacing of this story for me is quite good, especially in the first half on disc 1. Part 1 just flies by, and part 2 does as well, but when it hits part 3 and 4, the pacing just seems rather odd in places, that it will speed up then it will slow down. It's one of those sort of stories which the pacing isn't quite right in the second half, but still nonetheless it's still pretty good. Now, the main criticism I have of the Fifth Doctor era is that there are too many people in the TARDIS. That there are positives with having this, because you can do multiple stories within one story, but within this story, with any story, you're going to focus on two main characters, and of course other characters are going to be pushed aside and underused. And this story is no exception, with the Fifth Doctor going with Tegan to the actual Starliner of the expedition, and Nyssa and Turlo going to meeting the rebels. And I feel that Tegan is the central companion in this, and Nyssa and Turlo are definitely underused in this story, and I feel that they should have been given a bit more time within this story. But performance-wise, Peter Davison is on fine form. He has such energy on audio, and he's very enthusiastic about this adventure. Well, the Fifth Doctor is anyway, and he gets some great bits of conflict within the story, and stuff what makes him quite angry, and we find out what makes the Fifth Doctor tick in a way. Janet Fielding, I feel like she's actually found Tegan on audio, but she doesn't have to be shouty and bossy for you to be drawn to her character. I feel that she's found, okay, this is Tegan on audio, I've got to be a bit more calmer. But in places I do find Tegan is in your face, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Sarah Sutton gets a nice few little sections of her contemplating about meeting her daughter, which is nice, but I still, as I said earlier, totally underused. Mark Strickson gets a few nice bits with, swimming underneath to find a passage to escape the cave, which is nice, but I definitely feel like those two characters definitely underused. My two favourite supporting characters have to be Gemma Redgrave's Decider. She's quite a complex character, but we do learn her story in part 4 and why they return back to Alzarius. And my other favourite companion, well, supporting character should I say, was Emily Woodward is Femme, who is a evolved marsh man or woman, whatever you want to say, and she gives a great performance and works really well with Gemma Redgrave. So, conclusion on Mistfall. Mistfall is an enjoyable story with it feeling like a traditional classic story, with it using Alzarius really well and using the mist to create an eerie atmosphere, with you not knowing what's lurking in the mist, and it just uses Alzarius beautifully with the river fruit and the spiders, and I have to say the sound design for the spiders is brilliant. And of course the Marshmen. The Marshmen are a bit underused in this story, well, in sections anyway, and we find out what makes Alzarius tick with this thing called the Pool of Life. Ooh, it's all very spooky. As I said earlier, pacing is a bit of an issue. The first 2 parts are brilliant, but in the later half it's just rushed, and that's because this story is just over 90 minutes, not your traditional 120 minutes as it says on the back, which is rather odd, and it makes some sections of a story feel rushed, and I feel like if some sections were expanded on, I feel like it will enhance my enjoyment of this story. Not saying that I didn't enjoy it, but I feel like my rating would improve if some sections were expanded on. But nonetheless, I think it is a great story, and I feel like some characters are definitely underused within this story, especially Nyssa and Turlo, and of course Tegan's a bit in your face. But I would recommend this story if you like Full Circle and you're a fan of the Fifth Doctor, but if you're not a fan of Tegan, then this may be one to miss. So my overall rating for this story will be 7.5 celeries out of 10. It's an okay story, and it leads into February's release nicely with a nice cliffhanger, wanting you more from this new E-Space trilogy. So for now, thank you very much for watching my review of Mistfall. Join me in my next review, which will be January's release from the Fourth Doctor Adventures, the Exelons. So for now, goodbye.